Good morning, everybody. Am I live? Yes, I'm live. Perfect. Hello. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to let a couple of seconds go while I wait. But how are you guys this morning? I hope you are well. If you're watching this live or on the replay, I hope you are well. I hope you are as well as you can be, given the circumstances of existing right now. But we have much to celebrate because tomorrow, I don't know the exact time. Usually I know, but I don't know the exact time. But tomorrow is the last full moon of 2020, which I mean, ooh, child, the ghetto. But let me see. Let me pull up my notes so that I have everything handy and dandy. But typically during these Monday morning mindfulness sessions, we discuss a little bit about what's going on astrologically. We do some group journaling, and we get into some breath work and meditation, just as like a mindful way to start your week. And I think today is especially important and especially pertinent because this is the last time we're going to be working with a big lunation during 2020, and it's a beautiful opportunity for us to let go and to kind of just have this like one final meeting with the moon and seeing kind of like, having this year in review, seeing how you showed up for yourself. And yeah, so I'm super excited to discuss that with you. We'll get started in 1 minute. I have one person who donated, but I'm not sure if they want to be here live or not, but I'll send it to them. But anyway, perfect. Awesome. So, watching this live on the replay, my name is Jazmin. I'm a spiritual counselor and conscious media journalist. And yeah, I discuss the stars and I help you help them be guided by them. So, without further ado, let's get into, let's start with a grounding breath before we even get into the astro tea. So, wherever you are, I invite you to just get comfortable, move out anything in your body that needs a little bit of movement, a little bit of nourishment. Go ahead and stretch it out. It's the morning. There's parts of you that are probably a bit stiff and haven't said hello yet. And when you're ready, you can find yourself back into a comfortable seated or lying down position in stillness, taking a deep breath in, holding it at the top, sighing it out. Taking another deep breath in, feeling the lungs completely. Holding it at the top. And sighing that out. And allow yourself to just be for a moment. Relax any tension you may be holding. Maybe in your forehead, between your eyebrows. You can unclench your jaw. Feel free to allow the weight of gravity to anchor you down. Feeling the entire universe take up the space between you and the nearest wall, the nearest object. Tapping into your own vibration, how do you feel? Do you feel your motor running? Do you feel like you're running on E? No judgment, just tap into yourself. Thank yourself for showing up today. Thank your body for carrying you here. And after this last inhale, we can come back and get started, taking a deep breath in. Sighing out completely. Good morning, good morning. Hi. Perfect. I hope that felt good. I hope you feel a bit more present in your current environment. And now we can get started talking about what is going on. So, tomorrow we have the full moon in Cancer, which I just want to immediately preface this by saying that this is the first full moon in Cancer that we've had in about 3 years that is not aspected by anything having to do with Saturn, anything having to do like with any Plutonian energy or Jupiter, and it's the first one that is not happening during an eclipse, which means I'm talking, baby, which means that this is going to be one of those like full moon cycles that is just your average everyday full moon cycle, which of course still has a lot of themes that we'll get into, and I'm sure you guys are experiencing because I've definitely been experiencing them. But in short, this is a perfect like moon cycle to just do average full moon work, which is releasing, which is reflection, which is re-editing, revamping. So know that, nothing major. I feel like this entire year, every planetary transit has been like, this is a once in a lifetime, like this eclipse is aspecting the blood. It's been like kind of overwhelming. So to know that we're ending the year with just your average lunar cycle is to some degree comforting. But it is in the sign of Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. So there's definitely an aspect of emotion that I'm going to talk about. And I think what is most important, and I talked about this a bit in my newsletter if you guys are subscribed, so thank you if you are, but I think what's most important to talk about with this moon is the fact that it being in Cancer is the sign of the divine mother, the divine feminine. It is how we pull from our maternal instincts. It's how we care for ourselves and our emotional capacity to care. So I think, at least from my perspective, a really prevalent theme right now in terms of reviewing our year is how have we been our own mothers? Because we've had to. Even if you have the most attentive and incredible mom, which I know for sure I do, I also know that I had to be my own mother in a lot of ways this year. I had to show up for myself. I had to push myself. I had to console myself. I had to encourage myself. I had to do a lot of caring and nurturing for myself. And we all did to some degree. So I think what this full moon in Cancer really is calling us to do is just sort of like give yourself some credit. Let's look back at this year. How did you be your own mom? How did you hug yourself a bit? How did you push yourself out of your own comfort zone a bit? And honoring that and allowing that to just be something that maybe you can interweave into your life going forward. Maybe you've learned how to take care of yourself a bit and you want to acknowledge that when we step into 2021 and further beyond, but also recognizing that it isn't easy to show up for yourself and it's difficult. So it's difficult sometimes to have those difficult conversations with yourself, but making sure that you at least acknowledge it because it's very important. But yes, Cancer moon is one of the most emotional placements that somebody can have and one of the most emotional planetary movements that someone can have. So there may be a lot of emotional themes coming up for you. You may be feeling, especially because this is, while it doesn't have any major aspects with any major planets, it is squared by Chiron. The story of Chiron is that he's the wounded healer, right? He heals the village, but he has like wounds that are debilitating on himself. And it's through that he's learned how to heal. So that squaring the moon, which is obviously the place that holds our emotions and our emotional capacity, there's this theme of like, above all else, there's a big theme on parental relationship. So if any themes coming up regarding your relationship with anyone maternal or paternal outside of yourself has come up, then know that is really divinely guided and mainly just a way to sort of remind you like, hey, it's okay if you have some scars from this relationship because there is no perfect familial relationship. But maybe before we walk into this new year, maybe have that conversation with yourself if you haven't had it with yourself, with the other partner if you've had it with that, if you haven't had it with them, just sort of like, let's acknowledge the fact that this wound is here. And if we want to build flourishing relationships with friends platonically, with romantic partners and lovers, and then work relationships. We want to make sure that we're coming from a place of we're coming from a healed space. And if we're holding on to any sort of wounds, even if they're from people that we are so scared to have these conversations with, we're not going to be operating from the most healthy space. So definitely making sure that you acknowledge any of the parental wounds that have come up. Let me see what else. Yes, self-care on an emotional scale is really, really, really supported right now. And this is something that is going to look different for every single person. So right now, self-care for you can look like journaling and meditating and going like full spiritual and really just like pouring into yourself and being really intentional with yourself. But for others, self-care can look like the complete opposite. Maybe that's what you've been doing all year. And right now you're on emotional overload. You're overstimulated by the fact that you have been decompressing and processing so much in yourself. Then maybe now you just want to like eat a pizza and call a friend and watch something mindless on television and just kind of like enjoy existing. And that is in itself also very deeply divinely supported. So whatever is coming up for you, whether you think you need to be more intentional with your emotion or where you need to just kind of like shut your mind off, do that, because they are all forms of emotional self-care. But the number one self-care act that I'm strongly encouraging right now, if you have the capacity to do it, is to cry. Crying is so incredibly villainized, and I don't understand why, because what does that say? What do people around me don't believe? It has nothing. So a question I just got for anyone who's watching the replay is, what if people around me don't believe in what you just said, meditation and talking to yourself? It has nothing to do with everyone around you. I mean, of course, everybody's situation is different, and some people are more under the, I guess not the control, but under the guidance or the protection of their family members. But at the end of the day, it's your journey, and it's your body and your mind and your soul and your journey with self-care, and you need to make sure you're prioritizing what you need. So if meditation is something that you need, make the room, make the space for it. But I totally forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, cry. Crying is so villainized, but it is the physical release of emotion. And right now, the Cancer moon is just calling us to physically release what does not serve us, what is holding us back, or maybe what simply just needs acknowledgement, and crying through it. So if any tears are brewing under the surface, just turn the tap on and let them flow. Crying is the most beautiful act of self-care that you can genuinely do. Because Cancer relates to the divine feminine, it's also deeply related to our intuition. So this is a beautiful time. If you've been having trouble deciphering what your intuitive voice is and what your egoic voice is, tap into what your intuitive voice is right now by sitting with yourself, by going back to nature. And if there's any decisions that you are navigating right now, tapping back into that emotional, intuitive voice is really what's going to lead you to a place of success and fulfillment. Like I said, the divine feminine is ruled by Cancer, and that is where our intuitive voice and our intuitive seat, our seat of intuition sits. So if there's ever been a time for you to really tap back into your intuitive power, right now would be it. So that also means that if there are any divine ideas that are coming to mind right now, if there are any projects that you suddenly want to play out, if there are any, just ideas of ways that you want to advance in your career or new hobbies that you want to take in, know that those could also be intuitive hits right now. And that's really important that you follow. What other notes do I have? Yes, and kind of a side note, but also important, is that Cancer rules the home, right? Because it's not only our emotional home, but in the physical sense, it's our physical home. So this is a beautiful time to redecorate, a beautiful time to make whatever space is yours feel more like yours. If you're a minimalist, to get rid of some stuff. If you are somebody who identifies with their objects, right? If you have a lot of like planets in the second house or something, which if you ever need to look into your astro charts, I'm more than happy to. But if you have a lot of influence in your second house, then you identify a lot with the objects around you. So now is just a beautiful time. Cancer is super duper supporting the idea of making your physical environment the most safe, the most comfortable, the most you can possibly be. And otherwise, yeah, basically in summation, this is a beautiful time to just sit back and put this year into review. Count your losses, count those losses as gains, because that's what they were. Everything is just a reroute to exactly where you're meant to be. So just allow yourself to look back on this year, see how you showed up for yourself, Pat yourself on the back for it. Be proud of yourself, because if you just made it out of bed every single day, then you did this year well. So just show up for yourself. I mean, just honor yourself by the fact that you showed up for yourself this year. Dabble in some nostalgia. Take care of yourself. Do some self-care. This is an emotional lunar cycle, but it isn't an intense lunar cycle. So you may not, so you can just do the average full moon rituals, which is just maybe like writing the things you want to release and not bring into the new year on a paper and burning it. Or doing any other sort of full moon ritual if you want to go to the beach, if you live close to the ocean. Just, being intentional with the fact that this is the last full moon of the year. So if you do have any final things that you really don't want to bring into this next era, because we'll be back to talk about what's going to go on in January. There are some incredibly harsh aspects going on in January, which is not something to be scared of, but something to be mindful of. And I feel like by the end of February, we're probably not even going to recognize ourselves. So let's just take this the calm before the storm, even though the storm should not be, villainized, but the calm before the show, to say, to just be intentional, to release, to forgive yourself, to give yourself praise and all the things. I pulled 2 cards, as I typically do. And the first one is, of course, the cards are always on point, but the first one is Shadow, which in the traditional tarot, this is the moon card, but this deck has different names for it, but same vibe. And what the moon card represents is our subconscious, is our emotions, is what lies beneath the surface. And it has a bit of a, people sometimes feel uneasy when the moon card comes up, because it does call for shadow work. It does call for us to kind of like look at those wounds and look at the things that are operating underneath. But within us looking at those wounds and looking at the things that are operating underneath, we come to, what does it say? Foundation and achievement. So this is, sorry, I'm getting texts and I keep getting distracted. Foundation and achievement. So this is alignment. This is, look at the rainbow. You can just look at the image and already understand that when we do this work, when we do the excavating, when we actually take the time to look into what's going on underneath, what's hurting us, what's dragging us down, what we're dragging out for too long, once we're actually intentional with acknowledging it, with healing it, with releasing it. And I apologize for my chip polish. It's quarantine. That's all I'm going to say. We come to a space of healing. We come to a space of manifestation. We come to a space, because along with this card came the Sacral Chakra, which the Sacral Chakra is our seat of manifestation. It's where we give birth to new ideas, new projects. And I'm sure that all of you have so many ideas for how you want to spend this next year, what you want to create, the role that you want to step into. And when you do so, you want to make sure that you're doing so from a place of like emotional reset, that you're coming from a new beginning. So being intentional with tapping in with whatever comes up right now, allow it to brew on the surface and overflow, because that is how you'll step into a place of alignment and manifest whatever it is that you want. And I feel like manifesting has become such a commercial buzzword, right? Like now it's like fucking, it's lost so much of its meaning, though on a personal level it will always hold the same power. But manifesting isn't just like, I want a red Ferrari and writing it in and writing it in your manifesting journal and then it's showing up the next day. I feel like that's what it's kind of become. But manifesting is really getting clear on the life that you want to live while you're in this human vessel for this go around, for this incarnation, and aligning yourself with that reality, which means believing in it, believing that it's possible and true for you, but also acting alongside it, making sure that your actions are supportive of that sense of evolution, right? Manifesting is the act of co-creating alongside the co-creator. So anyway, that was a tangent. But next up, we're going to do some journaling together, which I will also be joining in on. And if you are on my newsletter, once again, and you've seen these prompts, so if you've already done them, then maybe revisit them, flesh them out a bit. And if you haven't, then these are the first time. But these prompts are very much in alignment with what this full moon in Cancer is, or the themes that this full moon in Cancer is highlighting. So the first one being, how did I take care of and show up for myself this year? So just list all the ways in which you showed up for yourself. And this doesn't have to be like, I completed that certification or I took up this new hobby, even though that is totally something to be proud of. And if you want to write that down, please do. But that can just look like, I made breakfast for myself every morning. I got up every morning, or I was brave in this way. I had this conversation. It can be the smallest things and the little things, but just show gratitude for yourself. So, I can type this in the chat so that you guys have the prompts. I just saw the internet told me that people with stress live longer. Is that true? Interesting. Okay. How did I show up for myself this year? And journal on that. I will as well. I usually play background music. I'll do that now. Not quite. There we go. For those of you just joining, we are journaling on the first prompt, which is in the chat. How did I show up for myself this year? Just one more minute. Nice, Garrett. Self-love and compassion. Yeah. Self-love can incarnate in many ways. Pause this now. Self-love sometimes, like I said, just looks like making sure you got a shower every day. In a year like this, self-love looked like a lot of things, but that's beautiful. And I think that when we do activities like this, we don't even realize how many ways in which we showed up for ourselves until we start to put it on paper. And then we're like, oh, I was actually really intentional with myself this year. I put on here, amongst many things, that I started therapy this year. Well, I restarted therapy this year with a new therapist, and that carried me through. But like I said, this moon is really calling us to sort of like have this this moment of nostalgia. It's difficult to understand how you can be nostalgic about just 1 year, but it is true. So the next one that we have is, in what ways do I need a bit more nurturing? Now that you've seen the ways in which you showed up for yourself, let's look at the ways maybe you've been neglecting yourself. Do I need nurturing? That's in the chat. I'll play some music again, and I'm going to get my charger because my computer is on the verge. Okay, there we go. I'm back for anyone just joining. We are journaling on the second prompt, which is, in what ways have I neglected myself? So now that we've been intentional with the ways in which we've showed up for ourselves, in what ways do I need a bit more nurturing? Do you need more self-love? Do you need more intentional eating? What do you need? You can never have enough self-love. Yeah, and if you've been showing up for yourself lovingly in some ways, that doesn't necessarily mean that, you're good and taken care of. Maybe there's other ways in which you haven't, My first list was pretty thick, but so is my second, Yeah. I showed up for myself in a lot of physical ways, but in terms of neglecting, maybe my inner dialogue has been a bit poor. And that's an act of self-love, to speak kindly to yourself. Last moment. Beautiful. Yeah, and just allow whatever arose right now to brew up. If maybe any feelings of disappointment with yourself come up, because I know for me that kind of just did. I was like, oh man, I've been doing so well in so many areas, and then in some other ones I've just been really not showing up for myself. It's okay. You should always meet yourself free of judgment, knowing that you are doing your best. And if you haven't been doing your best, how can you moving forward? Totally. So the last journaling prompt that we have before we get into the meditation and breath work, which I'm so excited for today, is, am I carrying any emotional baggage into the new year? What are you carrying into the new year that just doesn't need to be carried? I see time as malleable, and I don't necessarily think that the changing of a year is necessarily the changing of anything. I more so define time by planetary movements, which, I guess it is 365 days around the sun. But what I will say is that, though I don't necessarily abide by like a new year, new me kind of thing, it is important that, especially after the year that we've had, that we are intentional with being intentional in this new year. So last journaling prompt is, am I carrying any emotional baggage into the new year? Last moment. Good. Perfect. Amazing, guys. Journaling is the best way to tap into yourself and to see your emotions kind of written on paper and outside of you so you can kind of make sense of them. So I always encourage a regular journaling um, routine or journaling practice if it's not already part of your practice. But otherwise, um, come back to those prompts throughout the week because after the full moon is when things kind of play out. So if you ever need to come back and honor yourself or be honest with yourself, do that. Those prompts are always waiting for you. And otherwise, we can get into the breath work and the meditation. So just as we were in the beginning, I invite you to come into any sort of comfortable position. Once again, moving anything that may have stiffened up during our time together as we were writing. Just nourishing your body with movement. My amazing angel friend Liv. I don't know if she's with us right now, but she does these like moving meditations every Monday night. I'm gonna share it on my story today, so that if you guys have me on Instagram, you can go and check out the story. Because I don't know how else to. Well, I can tell you her Instagram right now, but they're incredibly intentional and a beautiful way to connect back with your body. But yeah, her ad is live_CURATALO. Definitely check out her sessions because they're incredible. But tapping into the space that we are, bring yourself to an area of stillness when you are ready. Taking one more deep, deep breath in. Holding it at the top as we did in the beginning. And fully exhaling. Releasing. Caving in a bit if that feels right. Taking one last deep breath in. Filling it up fully. And releasing slowly and completely. Let's tap back in. How do you feel? We may have dug up any emotions, any memories, any anxieties, or maybe even any inspiring and motivating themes during our time together, and allow yourself to just meet yourself in your own emotion. How do you feel? Not judging, simply observing. Are you excited? Are you nervous? Are you overwhelmed? Are you inspired? Notice where your emotion is being held in your body. Are you clenching your jaw? Does your chest feel heavy? Are your hands and fists? See where you can release. And whatever part of your body feels heavy or feels like it's holding any of your emotional weight, I invite you to put your hands right over that part of your body. And send yourself as much love as you possibly can. Affirming, I forgive myself. I love myself. I am doing my absolute best. And my best is good enough. I forgive myself. I love myself. I'm doing my best. My best is good enough. Coming back to center. During this breath work, as we tap into our root chakras, our connection with earth, with what's tangible, our emotions. As we breathe through it, I invite us to release. Release any remnants of the year that feel heavy or weighed you down. Anything that does not serve this next step in your personal evolution. Or simply any attachments to any outcomes, any ideals. We'll be breathing into our root chakra located in the base of our spines, and it's red. We'll be doing the breath of fire, which looks like, in case you aren't aware, pumping the navel out in equal breaths in and out. So you can breathe through an O-shaped mouth or the nose. So when you're ready, we can just take one cleansing breath in. Holding it and releasing simultaneously. When you're ready, let's breathe into our root chakras. Visualizing this vibrantly red energy center swirling and moving. See anything that does not serve you moving up and out of you. Pushing it out, affirm that you are safe and protected and guided. Affirm that it is safe for you to heal. It is safe for you to release. It is safe for you to break habits and cycles. Keep pushing through, even if it gets difficult. Equal breaths in and out, moving through and around and out. Know that you are supported by the earth beneath you, by the heavens above you, and by the ancestors that surround you. Last few breaths to be as intentional as you can be. Finally taking one breath in. Holding it fully and completely. Feel the energy being harnessed in your body. And on the exhale, release, shaking any of the energy you just cultivated through your body, distributing it. Until coming back and sitting still. Returning your breathing to normal. This last full moon in Cancer is calling for you to sit still. Because as Hannah Joy has said, sitting still means you're still growing. As we move into this next season of being, into this new year, let's vow to be honest with ourselves, radically honest with ourselves. Being honest about the ways in which we need to be proud of ourselves, the ways in which we need to do better for ourselves, the ways in which we can show up for our community, for our families, for our inner children, our shadow selves, and our higher selves. You are perfect and divine, guided and protected, and have every ounce of power to create and live within the life that you desire. In order to cultivate new, we must release what was. When you're ready, you can begin to move again, coming back into awareness. Nourishing your body with stretches once more. I hope that you carry out any of the energy you've cultivated into the rest of your week and hopefully into this new year, knowing that you are fine, you are divine, and you are perfect as you are. Thank you so much for sharing your morning with me. It means the absolute world. I do these every Monday, so definitely feel free to come back. We have a lot of astro weather to get through in these next upcoming months. You could also sign up for my newsletter. Follow me on Instagram because I'm always hosting workshops and other platforms. If you ever want to do a one-on-one with me, I'm also available for that. And otherwise, yeah, I love you so, so, so deeply and so fully and so completely. I thank you, and I hope that you walk with peace as you start your day. So, yeah, sending you all my love. Bye.